So welcome to the free GRE Prep Hour. What today is about is our opportunity as instructors to come in once in a while and take people who may or may not be familiar with the GRE through one peculiar and particular skill on the GRE or one particular subject matter. So one week we might do quantitative comparison, or another week we might do a cool technique called plugging in, or something we might look at something peculiar in geometry. Today's topic is going to be largely reading comprehension, getting to reading comprehension. Why? Because reading comprehension can be a real intimidating part of the test. How do you guys feel about reading comprehension? A lot of people don't like reading comprehension. If you don't like reading comprehension, why not? What do you dislike about reading comprehension? Especially when you see it on SAT or ACT or GRE or GMAT. Yeah, some of the passages are super long. All right, cool. Spend too long reading the passage. Okay. And the passages are pretty dense, and they're pretty academic, and they're pretty quote-unquote boring. Vocabulary can be a bit of a problem if you're not a native speaker. Excellent. All right. You don't bring in outside knowledge to answering the questions. This is great. Excellent. If you like reading comprehension, why are there advantages to reading comprehension? Why is reading comprehension a good place to spend a little time? Look at what Alex just wrote. I like what Alex just wrote because that can also be an advantage as well. If you can't bring in outside knowledge to answer the questions, what's an advantage of reading comprehension? Welcome, Michelle. So what we're talking about is advantages of reading comprehension. Why is reading comprehension a good section? Why are we happy when we see reading comprehension on the test? Yeah, the answers are in the text somewhere. They're in there somewhere. It's just your job to uncover them and find them, right? So you don't need outside knowledge. So in math, if you don't know certain formulas or certain math skills, you can't answer the question. In verbal, you don't really need to know anything. Vocabulary can be pretty tough. The subject matter can be dense. It can be pretty long and difficult. But there are, with other verbal questions, you can't use context clues as easily with reading comprehension. Max, I'm going to show you maybe today a little bit later that yes, you can. You just have to, not as easily, but it's pretty straight out with context clues where we're going today. But what we're going to focus on today are questions that look like this. So by the way, all of our questions, I'm going to hop on the video for a little bit and say hi, just so you can get to see my face and engage a little bit. Hello, that's me in my dirty office with the closet open. Yay. That's me today. I'm Neil. I'm sitting actually in Wellington, New Zealand today, where it's noon on Friday. It's Good Friday already here in New Zealand, so everything is shut down for the day, but I'm happy to be working with you guys. So all of our questions today are coming from the Manhattan Prep GRE 5-pound book of practice problems. Give me a yay, a Y if you have the book, or N if you don't have this book already. It's one of the most popular, biggest sellers on the out there. So it's a pretty badass book. It's pretty cool. Pretty intimidating, by the way, as far as when you get that book. What I like to use the 5-pound book for is, on a personal level, when I'm prepping for the GRE, is I like to go and take a test, and the practice test will reveal to me that, okay, you're really solid in geometry today, you're about 98% in geometry or 90% in geometry, but oh look, in say absolute value and whatever, absolute value and inequalities, you're only 47%. So hey, why don't you go fix that? So I'm going to go to the absolute value and inequalities chapter in the 5-pound book and fix it. So I use it as sort of damage control and repair. I have something to fix. If it's percentages, I'm going to go to the 5-pound book and use that chapter and fix everything using that chapter. Word problems are giving me a tough time today. Great. I'm going to go to the 5-pound book and fix word problems. So I love the 5-pound book for that. And you're right, there's lots of practice tests, there's lots of mixed things. It's a pretty cool book. So all the subject matter is going to come out of that today. So I'm going to hop off the video and just talk to you guys. So that's where we're going. So today we are talking largely about a couple of things. Primarily, the question we're addressing is primary purpose of the passage is. All right, so that's the question type we're addressing. The problem we are fixing is the problem that a lot of you talked about is reading long passages, finding out what matters. So spending less time reading the passage so that we can get through reading comp efficiently and figuring out what in the passage actually matters. All right, so let's not, so when I talk about as far as our skill today, what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a method of practicing reading comprehension. This is not how you take the test. This is 100% backwards from the way you take the test. We will turn it around and talk about test day stuff. But today we are practicing in reverse. And here's what I mean. All right. So what we're going to do for practice is we are going to open the 5-pound book and we are going to find primary purpose questions. All right, so first things first is here on primary purpose questions is, first things first is I would like for you to tell me, what is this question actually asking? When I say, what is the primary purpose of blah, 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 what's a simple way of rephrasing that question? Main idea, okay. Sort of what's the main idea, or we may even think main point of the passage. What's another way of saying the thesis? Okay, I'm into that. Cool, we're getting closer. What does the author want to convey? What is it trying to tell us? Those are getting closer again. What do we want to convey? What is it trying to tell us? Erica's getting even closer. If I said, what is the primary purpose of a steering wheel? What am I really asking? Look at what Hannah and Erica just wrote. If I'm saying, hey, what is the primary purpose of a steering wheel? What's a simple way of putting that? Yeah, what is its function? But if I said, what is the function? All right, not what is a steering wheel. What is the primary purpose of the steering wheel? What is the function of a steering wheel? Again, look back, scroll back up to what Hannah and Erica, look at the very first word of what Hannah and Erica put in there as well. If I said, what is the purpose of a blender? Or what is the function of a blender? What would a child ask? Not what child would say, but what would a child ask? Child points at this and says, what question? Look at what Erica wrote. Look at what Hannah wrote. Scroll up, look at what Erica wrote, look at what Hannah wrote. What is the question? Starts with a W for what is the primary purpose of something. Yes, all right, beautiful, all right. So here is why. All right, cool. So this is something to get used to on the GRE and every standardized test, but the GRE today, a lot of GRE questions, about half of your GRE questions are not what is in the passage, but why is the passage there? All right, so tell me about academic writing. All the papers you wrote in college, why did they exist? Besides you were assigned, and if we talk about thesis and main point, why do people write things in academically or in academic journals? why do you write a thesis statement? What are you trying to do in a thesis statement? Think about like the English papers you wrote in university and a lot of the, okay, I like what Max is putting there, and I think we're going to go there. We're trying to convey an argument generally substantiated by some evidence. Sweet, okay. When we talk about a point or a thesis, what's another way of saying a point or a thesis besides argument, by the way? What are you trying to do? Why do politicians talk? Why do pundits speak? Why do op-ed pieces get written? To persuade or to convince. Okay. Largely that is, if we're being asked the primary purpose of something, it's like, okay, generally, not all the time, there's two kinds of writing. Well, I'll say three kinds of writing. There's, in the real world, there's writing that is out there to entertain. There's writing out there that is to inform, and there's writing out there that is out there to argue for a point. All right, so as purely entertaining, purely informative, and argumentative. Now, there's a lot of overlap between things. Which of these have you never seen on the GRE or on any standardized test ever? Entertain. Okay, so we can keep we know that's not happening on the GRE at all, period. All right, we've never been entertained by anything that's shown up on the GRE ever. All right, so purely entertained. What have you seen more on standardized tests, arguing or informing? I bet you think you saw more informing, but I'm going to say more often you're going to see arguing. All right, cool. Is it extreme arguing? No, not so much. Is it exciting arguing? No. Is it, you know, hardcore, cool presidential debate argument? No. It is not that. A little bit less so. We're going to check plus and check minus on this. We'll see some information. We'll see some argumentation there. All right, cool. So let's talk about working backwards on this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at a question alone. And as far as practicing backwards, I'm going to spend some time thinking about that question. Like, what does it really mean to say primary purpose? Oh, why is this passage written? And then we're going to look at what every other GRE passage we've ever looked at. So start banking these as far as the kinds of structures you've seen. And then also we're going to start and we're going to first of all go through and we're going to rock some POE. Anybody in the know, what does POE stand for? All right, process of elimination. All right, so we're going to cross off some wrong answers here. So I'll let you look at these in a second. But let's talk about process of elimination. What is more likely to be true? Picasso had many supporters or everybody loves Picasso? Many supporters. What's more likely to be true? The population of the world is very large, or the population of the world is 4 billion? Very large. Okay. So tell me about undebatable answers. So notice the more extreme or specific we get, the more extreme we get, the more likely it is that we can prove it wrong. Yeah, the more extreme it is, the more likely it is. Erwin, before you split, could you do me a favor and send Jennifer a note about resetting her connection, please? Before you go away, could you just help Jennifer reset her connection speed for me? Sorry. She's having some. Here we go. All right. So, oh, you did? Okay. Never mind. Missed it. All right. So here we go, folks. Let me, sorry to take a minute there. All right. Here we go. So extreme answers. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of things that are too extreme or very debatable. And we're going to pick things that are vague, wishy-washy, and also kind of academics and more likely to show up in academic writing. All right, so sort of slightly more proving a point using evidence kind of a thing. All right, so let's take a look at this set here. All right, so which answer choices strike you as potentially rather extreme? A. What word in A is kind of a little sketchy? Yeah, so best painters. All right, so this is not my answer on the GRE. Cool. All right, so best painters. All right. Next, all right. What else is a little? Why a D? It's argumentative, right? Yeah. Tell me about saying this is more sophisticated than that. How would? Why do we consider it? Yeah, subjective, right? It's hard to quantify. It's debatable. It's a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of fact here. All right, cool. Here. Now, between B, C, and E, I want you to make a guess. Which one is the most likely answer on GRE? Even if you have no GRE experience at all, give me a guess. What do you think is the most likely answer? As far as like a little more argumentative, a little more, all right, cool. So let's go, and we're not going to go check our answers yet, but I'm going to say, all right, on a first guess, the GRE sounding answer, B. All right, evaluated theory, endorse a revision. Maybe we're comparing the selected works of two masters, but notice this is a thing. Remember I talked about why here? And this on C, this is a what answer. This is maybe what did they do. This is more of a why did we do it. Does that make sense, folks? Like if I know this is a why question, this is a what answer. Yeah? No? This is me geeking out. Or questions on that? This is what did he do? This is why did he do it? Cool. All right. Sweet. All right. So we picked B. This is working backwards. I'm going to try to pick an answer without having any clue what the passage even says at all. I'm going to work my way towards that. This is for practice only. We'll do this forward in the real way. But I want to get used to GRE sounding answers, and I want to recalibrate. If I'm wrong, and you may be wrong, then I'll recalibrate and go, okay, I'm getting bad at guessing these. Let's start guessing. Oh, that's the answer? Okay, that's a more GRE sounding answer. And you start working based on right and wrong answers in the 5-pound book and the official guide to start calibrating to like, what's a GRE answer? Excellent. So let's go back, and what we're going to do now is we said the problem was reading the whole passage, right? That's a bear of a process. We're going to do that. But let's actually focus a little bit more and go back to this idea of why. What there matters here, the contents or the structure? If we know why, what do we care more about, the contents or the structure? This is kind of an interesting game. Interesting. Okay. Oh, so notice it's a 50-50, structure, content, content, structure. All right. What did you get tested on your whole life, on every other history test in your life? All right. You got tested on content. All right. So you got tested on what is the tensile strength of the shell of the whatever snail. You got tested on what date was the invasion of Mongolia. What you know, all of that, right? That's content, right? You often got asked what is this? What is this? What color ribbon was what's her name wearing in, you know, Young Goodman Brown? What? Okay. What is this question asking? Why? All right, so do we care more about content or structure? Interesting. All right. It's really knee-jerk to start looking at the names of things. All right, cool. All right, it's really knee-jerk. We are so trained to look at content. However, we're so knee-jerk to look at content. So what we're going to do actually as part of this working backwards is I'm cutting all of the content out of this passage. All right, so if you need to zoom in a little bit, and this is a little hard to read for you, up on the upper left-hand side of your screen up here you'll see new page, clear page, delete page, and then you'll see a little drop-down menu that says fit page. You may want to change that to like 100% or 150%. So that fit page, you may change that out if this is a little bit. So what did I cut out? All right, I cut out all the content. I cut out what a lot of people would see as the important bits, the names of anything. All right. So I'm going to read this out loud to you guys, and let's see if we can clarify our answer to see if we got it right or wrong. So I cut out the content, and I'm going to leave you with just the structure, and let's see if we can do that. All right, blank and blank. This pairing has often been touted as blank. Yves Alain Dubois proposed that the interaction between blank and blank should be seen as blank. Boyce employs the metaphor of blank that can be viewed as blank and blank. All right. But the metaphor of blank is misleading. The two are engaged not just in blank, but also in blank. A better model is blah, 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 dippity blue. All right, cool. So let's focus on that content. What's Boyce doing? Yeah, he's proposing something. All right, so he's proposing something should be seen as this, and he uses a metaphor. What's my author doing? Yeah, he's disagreeing with the metaphor, and he's providing a alternative. Sweet. Ta-da. All right. So if I cut out all the contents of this, the actual what the hell this passage is about, and really focus on the words around that content, I go, oh, this dude proposed something, the author's saying, he's not quite right, and here's a better model. Sweet. So now let's go back to primary purpose. We said Boyce was offering a proposal. What's another word for proposal? Hey, theory. All right, so there's our proposal. All right, and what's the revision? A better model. All right, ta-da. All right. So again, have you read this? Not really. Yes, but so what we're retraining ourselves to do, and this is to, if on our first read of the passage, not to get bogged down in the detail, not to get bogged down in the context. What if they ask me a content level question? What can I do? What did they ask me about? Why did they author? Oh, sorry, what did they say about this? Yeah, I can go find it. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, all right. So we can go read for details. You can find that specific section. It'll all work out. Okay. So, yeah, and we can go back and find it. So for now, what we're doing is, all right, so the real primary purpose, we didn't need any content to get there. It's obvious, it's there, it's really clear. We have a proposal, and the author says, it doesn't quite work. Here's a better model for things. All right, so we have no idea what this passage was about, really, but we do know why it was there. Does that help? So what do you want to focus on in your first pass through the passage? Content or structure? And it's really hard to train yourself. This takes time and practice. It took some practice for me to be able to get this down to this. It took some time. All right, so now what I would do for real is I'm going to clear all this crap off here. I'm going to clear all this crap off, and I'm going to let you read the passage. So again, if you want to fit the page here, I will do that. But let's put some time on here. I'm not going to give you a ton of time here. But now I know this dude proposed a thing, and there's a better model. Let's get a little more detailed about that, what that thing is he's proposing and what that better model happens to be. And again, what you can do, if this gets really dense in terms of the content of a paragraph, we just learned, doesn't matter at this moment. So keep your eye moving, but I'll give you a minute to figure out what was the proposal and what was the better model and what's the rest of the passage going to be. So I'll give you a minute. I'll turn off the clock. Just read it now. All right, so let's keep it simple, and then we'll, notice, like, if once you've got the structure, the reading of it's not terrible. And if you lost some stuff, who cares? We got the right answer, by the way. We had the right answer just by guessing, and we clearly had the right answer just by focusing on structure. So what did Voss propose? We should see it as a what? Yeah, the dynamic is a chess game, right? As a sort of a competition, as a game, all right? Should be seen as a game rather than a conflict, all right? So dynamic game rather than a conflict, all right? So it's like a chess game, right? So sweet, okay. So Watt says it's a chess game. What does my author say? It's more of a what? Yeah, it's more of a conversation. Okay, so notice that we get competitive sport is misleading, and that's just a competition. They're in the dialogue. Sweet. So they were kind of competitive, and yes, there's an extreme of the dialogue, but Matisse continues the conversation, and at the end he's saying, hey, thank you, you missed a few spots. All right, so sure, it's kind of a conversation, but that misses some, yeah, sure, it's kind of a competition, but kind of more of a conversation. Ta-da, we got it. Now, all the facts about what's reclining against what and who's got yellow hair and who painted what, I don't care, don't care. Fine. All right. So that's the last step of my practice, is to read the whole thing and get a better sense of it. All right, so let's do that process again. So I'm going to go here. All right, what's this question asking for? Quite literally. Hey, look at that. All right, so it's asking for the structure. Hey, what do I care more about? The structure of the contents. Everybody, what do we care more about? Structure or content? Yeah, structure. All right, cool. So once again, I redacted this like a government document and pulled out I pulled out all of the contents and just focus on structure. So I'm going to turn off the mic for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and let you just read the structure of this, and let's see if we can get the right answer. Oh, you know what? No, 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 no. Sorry. Let's continue the working backwards part. Sorry. So let's just do pure POE. Anything too extreme. Let's get rid of some way too extreme answers. E, yeah, ridiculed. All right. Anything else? A little too extreme. It might involve a little vocab too. Yeah, B, by the way, a screed is like a really, really like extremely, a screed is an extremely angry piece of writing. Cool. And what else might be? And Novelino, I like that. Yeah. Do people just question people's credentials in academic writing? Or do they take some time and analyze it? All right, so I'll get rid of these three. Good guess. Now, I'm going to leave A versus C. A theory is described and supported by additional studies. Maybe. A theory is presented, followed by opinions that impugn it. Maybe. I don't know. All right. So at this point, I'm down between A and C, and there's no real way of guessing other than what have we already seen, A or C? Yeah, we saw that on the last passage. Interesting, if you were going to make a guess. All right, so take a minute, read it. I'll turn off the, oops, sorry, I accidentally went back. Take a minute, read what's left, and then we'll see whether we're right or wrong. All right, beautiful. Okay. Was the theory supported or was the theory impugned? Yep. All right, cool. Ta-da. We got some critics. John DeMillo says this. DeMillo argues that. John DeMillo argues this. He implies throughout that. He argues that blah, blah, blah. But his critics suggest that he sidesteps the problem. Such critics also suggest DeMillo misrepresents. In the essay, blah, 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 Davis spends a great deal of time discussing blah, 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 and kind of contrast to the assertions of DeMillo, where DeMillo argues this, Davis argues that, and Davis argues that. Ta-da. We got our structure. I have no idea. Actually, I don't even remember what this one is about. But ta-da, we got our, it looks like we got our right answer here. And so sure, we could take our time and like capitalism, gay identity. DeMillo argues that the emergence of industrial capitalism led to new opportunities for free laborers in the United States, leading to various beneficial changes in social conditions. Yawn. Notice if you start getting into the sociology and the actual contents of this, it can get really dense. And it may be your field of interest, it may not be your field of interest. Sociology and history and working class and changes in working classes to create social changes, et cetera, et cetera. Fine, all right, but as long as I got the structure of this, I'm cool. All right, so what this will allow us to do is to read a little bit more efficiently, knowing that in this case, and especially whether there is this question or not, this is my first read of the passage. So we'll do one more backwards, and then we will, but I'm not going to redact this one. And then we'll start working forwards, and I'll give you some tools for what do you do when you hit this on test day. So here we go. On your own, here, write down A, B, C, D, and E. So on your own, write down A, B, C, D, and E. And don't tell me in the chat window, but go ahead and cross off a few of these. Don't tell me yet. Don't participate, but I want you to look at these and go, all right, which of these would I cross off? Okay. Is this more of a what question or a why question? This is a what is a main idea or why is a main? Yeah, okay, so we're moving more into sort of a what question a little bit, but still, which of these would you cross off? Surpassed, right? So this subjective comparisons, or we got a comparison saying somebody's better than somebody else. That's a matter of opinion. So these out, cool. And anything else? Yeah, all right. E may be too wide in scope. I like this. This is great. Okay. So we're getting rid of extremes, but also we're going to get rid of things that are maybe too broad, maybe too narrow. All right. So one more time, and we'll one more pass. If you could pick one of these as the most GRE sounding answer, which one would you pick as like the most likely answer on the GRE? Everybody gets a vote. You may be right, you may be wrong, maybe. Maybe in disagreement with other people. All right, so we got lots of A's as a real GRE sounding word. And notice between A and D, let's talk about A and D, and then we can, if you yourself are debating between A and D, great. That gives me an interesting point of difference between A and D. So how somebody developed his style, nobody really likes that one, but maybe, right? But notice how this is a representative of his work, describe an answer. So this is describe a work, this is describe a work. This is, they're both talking about describing a work. What's my question is, hey, did we talk about what inspired it or not? All right. So we're down between A and D. That's good. I was, when I did this backwards, I go, okay, is it A or is it D? Is it just the work or is it the work and its inspiration? Because Picasso is popping up here, I'm guessing there's inspiration. Maybe we talked about Matisse and Picasso, but this is a totally different example of, but here we go. So I'm down between A and D. Not really clear on, but maybe it's his style, maybe not. Seems a little broad. That seems like a book, not necessarily a paragraph this long. So what I want you to do is maybe try to focus on the structure and of these and really parse out the structure and kind of let yourself go on the content. So I'm going to give you I don't know, maybe a minute or so to read this over, but we're reading it, but we're really now eyeballing the structure like I did way back. So, oops, I don't have the redacted one. So I'm going to eyeball the structure the same way that I redacted that other one, and I'll highlight the structure for you this time around. But here, I'll shut up and let you work. So start the timer, 1 minute, go, read it. All right, so get your eye to the end. Make sure your eye hits the end. Notice there's a boatload of content, right? The painting depicts blah, 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 the blibbity blue, and the striking this, and then the way loud this, and then there's bits of blue with this, and the colors of the frames of this and that. So we are clearly spending a lot of time. Describing the work. Do we get any inspiration in there? Yeah, how we develop the style. So 90% of this is about the work. So let me focus on the structure thing. Represents his display of his new master of a technique once peculiar to Picasso. All right, so is more of the passage about the work or his development? Like the meat of the passage. What is it about? A single work or about his development? Yeah, okay, so we can get rid of C. All right, so it's not all of that. Like how he developed his style would be like, well, he went to school here and he did that. Oh, so that'll work. All right, cool. Do we get its inspiration or not? Yes or no? Yeah, the beginning and ends. Yay. Okay. Yes, we do. Okay, sure. Sweet. All right, so we kind of did that backwards and then forwards again, right? He borrowed Picasso's style. Painting references his still life with an ancient has. Awareness is borrowing from his younger colleague. Great. So we get a work, but how it borrowed from the other one. Awesome. All right, so there we go. That's a question done. Now, let's turn this around on its head, and let's get a technique for this as well as we can. All right, so a reading comprehension passage appears on the screen. You have a couple of options here, and I want to be clear that you have some options. Your options include check your question. And I don't want you to spend an hour really analyzing the question. We don't want to look at the answers yet because that doesn't matter at the moment. So this is on the test. So on the test, we got an option of checking the question, or we have an option of dive into the passage. What's your personal preference? You know there's going to be a bunch of questions about this. So I can either check the first question and see what I'm reading for on this question, or I'm going to dive into the passage and get the structure of it right off the bat. What's your personal preference? And everyone will be different. Yeah, so some people really like to check the question. Do it. Great. Some people like to dive into the passage. Do that. Great. I want you to really go with your, I want you to have control over how you do the test, right? So you're going to see on the test, you're going to see a passage and you're going to see a question. So maybe primary purpose pops up, or maybe, what is the purpose of evaluating this or that, right? So you may see a particular question, so you may glance at it real quick, or you might just jump in. I do both. Depends on the same test I'll do. Sometimes I'll dive into the passage, sometimes I'll go into the question. All right. So great. So on test day, what I'm going to do is whatever. I may look at the question, I may dive into the passage. Do what you feel like doing. It doesn't matter. So we do need what? Structure or content stuff? First pass. All right. First pass, I need structure. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to just show you a game here, and then I go back to what I do. Actually, never mind. So I'm going to have you read the whole thing. All right, so good. So focus on the structure, look for so-and-so, and their critics say this, and there, and howevers, and buts, and yets, and contrast to, and howevers. And then I'll let you, so I'll give you about, I don't know, 2 minutes on this, but read less content, read more structure. You may begin. All right, that's way too much time. All right, that was done. All right, so give me a one-sentence redux of this passage. Or four-word redux of this passage. Tools of learning. Okay, that doesn't give me a primary purpose yet. Give me what is the author arguing about tools of learning? So tools of learning gives me the what. Well, give me the why. Give me the structure. There we go. All right. Why are film good tools of learning? All right. Cool. Tell me about books. What's our opinion about books? Yeah, books suck, okay, and film. But film is, overall, I don't know, smiley face. So if I'm going to put anything on my scratch paper, that's what it's going to be. So notice I didn't mention anything about taking notes on the scratch paper or anything like that. I'm just going to, books bad, film good. All right. Books suck, film is good. And so we got, all right, so we got our structure of the thing. And, you know, so we got a cool one. History textbooks are blah, blah, blah. By the way, I don't want to notice a lot of you got kind of fixed in on the two fact-based. Is that the only thing wrong with books? No. All right. But notice how many of you jumped on two facts-based. All right. And I want to warn you about something. The test writers are really, really, really good at knowing what psychologically you guys pick up on. And so you as readers pick up on two fact-based, which is one problem. Notice the structure says, and furthermore, and this is particularly disturbing when considering that the fact that state committees, blah, 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 an article, all right, so notice how it's fact-based and this, and furthermore this, and this is all a problem because of that. There's like a, pardon my French, a fuck ton wrong with textbooks, not just two fact-based. So what the test writer is going to do, in wrong answers, will put two fact-based in a lot of wrong answers. All right, so just be aware of that you all picked up on two fact-based. But there's a lot wrong with textbooks, so lots of wrong answers will have these words, two fact-based, in them, because you all picked up on them. All right, and sort of jumped on that a little bit. But books suck, film good. All right, so let's find the answer that says books suck, film good. And that's how I'm going to answer this question. So here we go. So books suck, film good. Which answer says that? Sweet. All right, cool. Which, all right, now let's use that process of elimination and confirm that by getting rid of some other, anything else that is too extreme. Yeah, all right. E, denigrate, right? Criticize here. And notice what A and C does is A and C are both half the passage. So C is for people that, so support the film industry, maybe too extreme. Yeah, it's not the film industry. And this is way too broad. We're talking about using film in classrooms here. So we got criticize, we got denigrate. Those are clearly bad answers. And then also, so this is the first half of the passage, and this is the second half of the passage. So the test writers know that some people only remember what they just read, film industry, and some people only remember the first thing they read. So these are only half the passage, and so A and C both go also. So you're finding reasons for crossing off wrong things. Sweet. One more? Ready? Okay. All right. So what I'm doing is, by practicing it backwards, I've made the forward process 10 times more efficient. So let's go forward one last time and do, all right, so either dive in or glance at the question. Glance at the question. Ooh, primarily does which of the following? Okay, so that would be structure, not content. What's it do? So not just why, but, yeah. All right, cool. Is anything from like a distance strike you as a really big structure chunk here? So here's another way of looking at this. Before I dive into this, I might want to look at things that really hint at structure. An alternative explanation exists. Okay, cool. And also, however, this, and what else? And further support for this thesis is, all right, so notice how, what else? Yeah, all right, so, oh, one more that I'll highlight. some argue that this. Okay. So if I start, instead of redacting everything, all the contents, and really highlight the structure, however this happened, however this, some argue that this, but an alternative explanation exists that, a further support for this thesis is that. How many times have we seen that structure, by the way? Some people propose this, however they're wrong. So in just 5 essentially random examples, we've seen this. Some people say this, however they're wrong, and here's my support. We've seen this like on every, yes, thank you, every passage we've seen does exactly this. So, cool. I'm actually really intrigued by this passage overall. Like I found this a reason to read Moneyball. So, cool. Check it out. Let's give you, let's cut it down. Let's see if we can't get the main point. I think you've got the main point already. Let's see if you can get a little more detail in a minute. Go. All right, so we focus on some structure. Let's go and see if you can't write down A, B, C, D, E, pick your favorite answer, cross off the other ones, or cross off the bad ones and pick your favorite. Don't put it in the chat window what you like best yet, but work on your own. Okay. So anything you type to me is private right now, so if you want to make a guess, great. But write down A, B, C, D, E, read over these answers, and see if you can't pick the best one based on what we already just highlighted in terms of structure. Take the rest of the time. All right, so all the chats are only coming to me, so give me a guess. All right, so I'm going to start thinking about the things we have votes for. So we have votes for D, we have votes for B, we have votes for A, what else here? We have votes for A, we have E here, we have A, and then we have B. All right, cool. So look at your answer for a second. I want you to look at your answer, first of all, and I want you to, and so we have guesses for all 4 of them. So what's the key here? Practice. All right. So come back to the main room tab. You have 2 tabs open right now. One was a private chat with me, and the other one says room. So tab on that for coming back to the chat window. But before we do this, I want you to look at your answer, and I want you to look at the first chunk of this answer, and so I'm going to keep it private for a second. Can you do this in this much space? The first half of your answer, can you do that in that much text? So which of these, so come back to the main room now, which of these are impossible to do in 2 paragraphs? Yeah, all right, so outlining the biography of a writer and the critiques and critiquing his work, outlining the whole biography of a writer is way too much, all right? And are we critiquing his work? And that might also be a little bit extreme as well. All right, cool. So let's go here. Anything else that might be a little ambitious? Yeah, maybe D. All right. Anything here that's a little extreme? All right, definitively prefers the latter. That's pretty extreme. All right. C, yeah, definitively there. I'm also going to say dearth of popularity, the total lack of popularity. I'm going to also say that's also extreme as well. All right, so we've got a couple of extreme answers here. A and B, maybe B, okay, discussing two suppositions and implicitly favors the latter, contrast to opposing theories for a process. Okay, so what do A and B have in, so I'm going to get rid of C, D, and E for definitively to extreme, dearth to extreme, critique to extreme. All right. What is the difference between A and B? Okay. So notice contrast versus discusses. Also, but we got two opposing theories, right? And we got two suppositions. And I'll say theory, supposition, same thing. All right. So we got, that's pretty much the same in both of these. So the difference between these two answers is it a process or is it implicitly favoring one particular, all right? One includes the author's opinion. All right. So let's go back to the structure and let's put this back together again, just as a last thing. All right. What was the theory about this guy? Just summarize the theory. Some argue that what? This guy's really popular. Some argue that. Just look at the some argue sentence. What made him so popular? Yeah, his education, right? It was his education. It was humanities education that made him really popular. But an alternative explanation exists. What is the explanation? It takes a little bit to hunt this down. What actually made him popular? His story went with the American narrative here, right? The American interest. What is the American interest? Yeah, the kind of rags to riches. I also think, like, we're right off to that. Like, notice how it's like an alternative. Although baseball and Wall Street are not commonly associated with this work concerning both these topics share more than lucre, all the books focus on gaming the system. So it's an American thing to game the system, to win against the odds, right? America's nation-building construct, everything like that. All right, so we've got the two theories. It was his education, or it was the American thing. Does he implicitly prefer one? How do you know? Well, debates can never be definitively scored. Of course, it can never be definitively scored, right? But look at what I've highlighted. Does he prefer one? There's more text for the second point. Does he say anything explicitly? Or yeah, hey, it's no wonder that they're popular. Hey, further support for this thesis is, says, of course, this, right? So it's not like this is definitively right. Now this tail end here, by the way, is a really, really common to end the passage. It's like, oh, well, I'm agree with it. It's certainly not modern American politics to admit that, but it's a lot of authors will say, well, I mean, they end it with a kind of what they say in New Zealand. Yeah, no. Like, yeah, but, all right. So does he explicitly take it? No, but he really does say he favors it. There's a lot of, there's more support for this thesis. These guys are probably wrong. So there we go. And what else is wrong with that? Yeah, are they opposing, and what else? That's a bit extreme. Yeah, what the hell? There's no process in this passage at all. This whole answer's bad. If one word sours it, like process, over the whole damn answer, there's no process in this passage at all. It's like, why is this dude famous? There's no process. All right, yeah, so contrasting two opposing theories for a process. There's no process here. It's just dude wrote a book. So two opposing theories for his popularity. So two suppositions as to why he's popular implicitly favors the latter. Why? Well, there's a lot of evidence for that. He's got support for the thesis. It's no wonder. Of course, this is the truth. Also, generally, if an author says some people say this, however, there's this other thing, we got that second thing. So there's our alternative explanation. So that's our, so there we go. So practice backwards. If you had jumped at, if you had done this one backwards, you probably would have crossed off C, D, and E, everybody who picked C, D, and E. If you started with the answer choices, you would have picked C, D, and E, or you would not have picked C, D, and E. So practice backwards, and then when you practice forwards, continue to practice and start building. Like, all right, we got two ideas, the second one's better. What else do we have? We got two ideas, textbooks, but we're going to increase the use of the second one. We've got, what else? We got artistic work and its inspiration, so that's the only one that wasn't a contrast. John DeMillo implies this, DeMillo argues this, his critics suggest that, the critics also suggest that DeMillo's wrong there. So we got DeMillo says this, but his critics say this other thing. Probably the author's a little bit more on the side of his critics. Picasso and Matisse, this guy argues this metaphor, but that metaphor is wrong. It's not just this, it's also that. Probably implies that he prefers the second thesis. So that's primary purpose in looking more at structure of a passage to, again, be a little less intimidated, a little less overwhelmed by reading comprehension, a lot less overwhelmed by the facts of reading comprehension. And that should give you a good start to any passage that you can therefore answer any questions. So there you go. That was our free prep hour. So please, manhattanprep.com/GRE/classes. Check out anything coming up for us. We got lots of fun things starting pretty soon. I've got a class, if you go online, it's Spring G. And so on live online, Spring G is the class I have starting April 5th. Since you seem to have Thursday nights free, April 5th is a class that is coming up starting pretty soon. So that's me live online Spring G if you want to join that. And the first session is always free if you want to jump in and take a look at what we do in our actual classes. So come back for free prep hours, check out the blog, lots of cool stuff on there, lots of free resources out for it. But good luck on your GRE process, folks. Have a great afternoon, and let me know if you got any questions in the meantime. I'll be wrapping up otherwise. Take care. Bye.